Somewhere in college, maybe before, someone hurt you in a way that you still haven't let go of. It shapes how you trust people, how you show up in your classes, how guarded and restless you feel while thinking about your future. You might call it maturity or boundaries or just being realistic. Most people think forgiveness is about being nice, about letting someone off the hook. It's not. It's about whether you're willing to stop organizing your future around something that's already happened and start loving reality as it is, as you, for all of it. In this video, we're going to explore forgiveness deeper than any video you've seen before. We're going to explore why forgiveness is so powerful, why it's so hard to do, and we're going to do a guided forgiveness meditation, which I made to help you forgive that person that hurt you in college or before. Before we go any further, I do want to give a content warning. I'm not a therapist, and if you need to, I recommend you consult everything in this video with your therapist, if you have one, and accept 100% responsibility for what we're going to talk about, because this is deep, deep stuff. Forgiveness goes much more into a rabbit hole than you might think. By the end of this video, you'll understand why. So, with that being said, let's dive first into why forgiveness is so powerful. There's three main reasons. The first one is that it allows you to fully love reality as it is. When we don't forgive someone, there are judgments that we have towards that person which actually show up externally. For example, you might not be able to trust others, like in a business partnership, because of a person that broke your trust earlier on. Or you can't commit fully to a friendship or a romantic partnership because this person who hurt you didn't commit to you. Or in the opposite sense, you're incredibly anxiously attached because you're scared that that person will leave you unless you shower them with love. Perhaps you can't focus on work because you're triggered by the person wherever you go, like a ghost that pervades every single setting you enter in. The reason that this occurs is because your judgment of this person and how they hurt you, while you internally judge them, it shows up externally. And the insight is that this judgment feels absolute, like what they did is absolutely bad. But what you don't realize is that you're imagining that judgment. Imagination is simply internally generating something rather than having it externally imposed by some substance. You think that what you're judging them for is some facet of reality, some universal truth. Like somewhere in the stars, it is written that cheating is bad, or breaking trust is terrible, being dishonest is a net negative. But this is an imagination because it is a relative discernment, a relative judgment that you are using to say that thing is bad. Why do we judge reality? It's because we self-other in order to survive. Right now, you're self-othering by attributing some parts of your conscious experience to yourself and some parts to other. You're attributing your body, your mind, your emotions to yourself, and you're likely attributing me, the person talking to you in this YouTube video, as other. Once you do this, you label aspects of yourself or other as bad or good. And we don't just do this on a physical level, we do this on a psychological one. It's deeply practical for our survival. Physically, it helps us survive because if we didn't other between the tiger in the savannah or the food that we need to put in our body, then we would die. Not the most effective survival strategy. But at an elite college like you're in, it is more often psychological, the things that we're surviving. Our identity, our beliefs, our emotions, our friendships. And the reason that forgiveness is so powerful is that it allows us to fully love reality as it is, to dissolve that self-other divide. Because ultimately, that self-other divide is imaginary. It doesn't feel like it is because it seems so obvious that you are you and I am me. But the only reason that's obvious is because of how deeply entrenched it is in your physical and psychological survival, not just on a self level, but on a collective one too. So when you don't forgive someone, you're essentially blocking yourself off from reality, from loving reality as it is, as you, as everything, which I call absolute love. And I talk much more about in my video up above on why most romantic relationships fail and what most elite college freshmen get wrong about love. Because when you don't forgive, you're essentially judging an other, and you're not allowing yourself to dissolve that divide. Now, I don't want it to seem like forgiveness means bypassing anger, bypassing grief, bypassing boundaries. That's not the point of forgiving someone. Those actually often have to be honored before you can fully forgive. Forgiveness is not about ignoring your emotions. It's about accepting reality, how you were hurt, as it is, even if you didn't deserve it and it wasn't your fault. So that's the first reason forgiveness is so powerful. It allows you to fully love reality as it is. The next reason is that it helps you look towards the future instead of attaching to the past. Non-forgiveness often keeps you trapped in judgment, which often leads to either apathy or action fueled by negativity. So an example is, let's say you're stuck playing video games or watching Netflix because of the apathy of not being able to change the past, not being able to change the person that hurt you in the way that they hurt you. So you get this sense of learned helplessness and you end up using that, distracting yourself from it through Netflix and video games. Another example is you fuel yourself to do really well in school because you feel you weren't good enough for your partner. And if you could just become better, more healthy, more smart, more driven, then your breakup wouldn't have happened. Maybe you are careful of getting too attached to a friend because of losing your entire friend group in freshman year, which unfortunately is something that happened to me. The insight is that this way of navigating your non-forgiveness, while it might be working in the moment, while it might be helping you for the season of your life you're in, it is doomed to actually hurt others. And this is a core insight, is the self-othering you do, the judgments that you do, the reason you're not forgiving. It is trying to protect you. It is yourself trying to help you navigate life to not get hurt in the same way. And you should come at that with love and compassion and kindness. But by not forgiving that person, you're actually going to become exactly what they did to you. Maybe not in the same way, maybe in a different opposite way because of avoiding what they did to you. But you will become the person for another that hurt them. If that doesn't motivate you to forgive, I don't know what will. Now, it's important to note that this doesn't mean you can't ever judge. What I'm saying makes it sound like judgment itself, not forgiving, is an inherent bad. Absolutely. But that's the opposite of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can still judge, but you do so with capital J judgment instead of lowercase j. Lowercase j judgment is labeling reality as good or bad in some absolute sense without realizing you're doing it. Cheating is bad. Rape is bad. Being dishonest is bad. On a relative level, definitely, these things are bad. But on an absolute sense, there is nothing bad about these. It takes a relative evaluation to say that these things are bad. And when you smuggle in that relative evaluation into the absolute, you end up creating this judgment that is built on toothpicks and potentially hurting other people and not loving reality as it is. So instead, you want to judge from capital J judgment, which is relatively labeling reality as good or bad, rooted in absolute love. Love for everything as you, as it is, perfect in itself. Some examples of capital J judgment would be choosing some friends over others, but because you realize that those friends you're choosing will help you love reality deeper, not because you think the people you didn't choose are inherently bad. Absolutely. It could be exercising, not because you think fat people are inherently bad people, but because you realize being healthy is one of the best ways that you can love more deeply. I can tell you from personal experience, having bad health is one of the, if not the most terrible thing for your ability to absolutely love. It could be studying, not because you think procrastinating or being lazy is some inherent absolute bad, but because you know it'll help you embody your life purpose down the road and absolutely love on a deeper level. So that's the second reason that you should forgive, is because it helps you look towards the future instead of attaching to the past. The past has already happened, and you are judging something which cannot be changed and potentially motivating yourself through that judgment in a way that will hurt someone else in the future. The third reason is very profound for why you should forgive, and that is because you are the universe forgiving itself. You are the person you're forgiving. The othering that you're doing is imaginary. I'm not saying you literally have experienced everything they've experienced. You have the same values as them. You have the same beliefs as them. You did the action they did to you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the distinction you're making between you as you and them as them and what they did to you as being harmful is imaginary. There is no absolute reason that they are separate from you. And the point at which they're separate is completely arbitrary. Think about how impossible it is to actually assess, yes, this is the cutoff line where that person is their own and I am me. Just see how much they're affecting you right now by having you watch this video. And yet, you'll still say that this person is their own person when they're affecting you this much. Again, I'm not saying it's not practical between other people in order to navigate society, but it is imaginary. There is no absolute reason that that person has to be othered from you. And so the insight here is that when you don't forgive that person, you're not just not forgiving them, you're not forgiving yourself, and in turn, the whole universe. And this makes it so that any interaction you have, any time you're navigating the world where they're not there, you still are judging reality. You judge others for being incredibly unhealthy. So then when you're unhealthy, you harshly scold yourself. You judge others for being lazy. So when you're lazy, you harshly reprimand yourself. The judgment of this person turns into judgment, not of just the person, but of you and the whole world. That's pretty profound. So those are the three main reasons that forgiving is so incredibly powerful. It helps you love reality as it is, lets you focus on the future rather than attaching to the past. And it also helps you forgive yourself as the universe, forgive the person as the universe. The question then becomes, well, what is blocking you so much from forgiving? Why is it so hard to forgive, even if you know those three things that make forgiveness so profound? The first reason is that you feel the other person doesn't deserve forgiveness. And the insight here is to realize again that nothing absolutely that they did is wrong. You're attaching some relative moral valuing to what they did and saying, well, I can't forgive them because they did that because of how bad it was. Yes, what they did relatively is probably bad. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. But what you're secretly seeking is a reason for forgiving them because you think they don't deserve forgiveness. There is no reason because what they did is not absolutely wrong. Nothing will change to make what they did absolutely wrong or absolutely okay in your eyes. Only you can do that. You think that not forgiving them will somehow make things better. That they will change because you didn't forgive them. That you'll feel better because you didn't forgive them. And unfortunately, the thing that you have to live with is they actually might never change. But you can take responsibility and grow from the experience nonetheless. You can be the stronger person and forgive the other person even when they don't deserve it so that you can grow. And you won't hurt someone else later down the road because you can't forgive them. Another reason that you might not forgive is that you think forgiveness means bringing them back into your life. It might mean that. Maybe what they did is not so bad that you can see letting them back in. But forgiveness doesn't have to mean that you bring them into your friendship circle or become partners with them again, or even talk to them. You can forgive without muttering a single word to this person. And maybe that is what you should do. Maybe they did something so relatively bad that you can't let them back into your life. But that doesn't mean that you can't forgive them for what they did, nonetheless. And you'll have to accept, maybe you won't get the apology that you want from them because you don't want to talk to them, but you can still forgive them. Another reason is that we don't forgive is that you want the other person to do something before you forgive them. And you're the insight here is that you're putting conditions on forgiveness. You're saying, oh, I'll only forgive them if they do X, if they apologize, if they change, if they do something for me. And again, you are taking a relative evaluation of what they did as bad and saying absolutely that they can't be forgiven until they do this thing, which is imaginary. There's no reason you can't forgive them until they do something. Sure, it might be nice to have them apologize, to see that they realize what they've done that's bad. But you can't put your own love towards reality on that. Imagine how sad that is. It's actually really sad. You can't love reality fully because you've said no to forgiving this person. And you think that what you need is an apology from them. What you need is for them to change. But what you really need is the true strength of forgiving this person even when they don't deserve it. Another reason that you might not forgive is that you're scared of admitting this person is not who you thought they were. To forgive is sort of like to admit that something truly did happen to you and to accept it. When you don't forgive, you can sort of ignore what occurred. You can push it down and repress it. But of course, this always comes back up in judging the external world in other ways. And ultimately, the reason you're scared of forgiving is because confronting it and accepting it would mean truly realizing this person is not who you thought they were. And I've had that happen a few times. It really sucks. It really does. And the last reason that you don't want to forgive is that you don't want to accept your part in how they hurt you. What you actually don't want to forgive at the root level is you don't want to forgive yourself. It's so easy to see other people's selfishness and so hard to see our own. And the thing that scares you most about forgiving this person is realizing how profoundly large a role you had in actually causing them to hurt you in the way they did. We need to be very careful with how we interpret this, because what I'm not saying is that you are at fault for what happened to you. But you are responsible for navigating how it is to react to it and how what you did might have led up to that, which does not mean that you could necessarily have predicted what would happen beforehand or even prepared for it in any way. But you need to be willing to accept that there might have been some degree of your own selfishness being involved in how it is that this person hurt you. Ultimately, you're scared of admitting your own shadows by forgiving this person. A shadow being a part of ourself that we attach to either through addiction or through allergy. Could be an addiction in how clingy we are with our friends or romantic partner because of trust issues from the person that hurt us. It could be an addiction in how engulfed we are in our work because we don't want to feel the negative emotions that come up when we're not working. It could be an addiction in immersing ourselves in parties, our phone, and other distractions so we don't have to focus on our life purpose. Or it could be an allergy, an avoidance. We don't want to, for example, we don't love ourselves, so we seek that love in other people. to fill the hole. Maybe we're allergic to religion or conservatism because our last partner or friend that hurt us was conservative or religious. Maybe we're allergic to being without needing anything because we were so survival oriented in childhood, and this makes it hard to just be in the moment, to just love what is occurring without needing anything from the moment. So ultimately, we're scared of forgiving because we don't want to accept just how much our shadows, our own selfishness, might have played a role inside of getting hurt. And that leads us to the most insightful, powerful part of this whole video, which is a forgiveness meditation to guide you through actually forgiving this person that hurt you. In order to do this meditation, which I created specifically for this video, it's powerful. I've done it many times. It works. You need to be in a quiet setting without any distractions and not doing something that will put you in any danger. I don't recommend doing this meditation while driving, for example. So put yourself in that setting where you'll have a good 30 minutes where you can really ground in this meditation. And I encourage you to do this a few times throughout the next few days if you feel like you still didn't fully forgive the person. Don't think that you can do this once and that it's over. There's a lot of work in forgiving. It's very difficult. I'm going to trust that you're in that setting. And I want to begin by closing your eyes. Ground in your body, every single part. Ask yourself how you're feeling in this moment. And take 3 deep breaths with me. Inhale through the nose. Suck in air through your diaphragm and then breathe out. Now that you're grounded in yourself, I want you to find the person who hurt you that's particularly calling to you in this moment. There's probably multiple, but I want you to pick one. Follow your intuition. Once you feel like you have that person, I want you to imagine a particularly violent event in which they hurt you. There's probably multiple, but intuit one event that's really calling to you, one of the ones that was more difficult. Once you have that person and that event, I'm going to walk you through a 3, 2, 1 forgiveness meditation. Firstly, I want you to experience this event with this person that hurt you from a third person perspective. The 3. Project yourself onto this experience and just watch from that outside view. Really feel into the experience, the colors, the setting, the taste in your mouth, how your stomach felt, your entire body. What was the context surrounding this experience? And I want you to ask 3 questions as you're deeply immersing in this. How did you feel? Why did you feel that way? And where was that feeling coming from? Once you feel like you've done that enough, I want you to ask yourself from this third person perspective, can you talk to yourself in this moment? Are you comfortable enough doing that? And if you aren't, love that reaction. Don't try and push yourself to go deeper in this practice if you don't feel like you're ready for it yet. But if it's just a little bit of a struggle, I do encourage you to go deeper. Which brings us to the second part of this meditation, talking to yourself from a second person perspective. I want you to talk to yourself as if it were a friend that were experiencing this. Talk to yourself in this moment and ask, how did you feel? Why did you feel that way? And where was that feeling coming from? Now for the last part of this 3-2-1, and the most difficult. I want you to ask this yourself, this friend that you're talking to, if they're comfortable enough letting you be them in this moment. Experience the moment from a first person view. Again, if they're not comfortable, accept that you might need to wait more and try this meditation again some other time. But if they are, immerse yourself in the experience as a first person perspective. And again, ask yourself those 3 questions. How did you feel? Why did you feel that way? And where was that feeling coming from? Now I want you to ask something really profound. This person that hurt you, how were they acting from the tetrad of universal human selfishness? How were they acting out of fear, ignorance, a lack of love, or a lack of consciousness in themselves? Once again, how are they acting from fear, ignorance, a lack of love, or a lack of consciousness about themselves? Now ask, what in their life led them to acting that way, to acting that selfish? What in their childhood, in their friendships, the context that they're in, their genetics, everything that you can imagine, what in their life led them to doing what they did to you? Now do something really hard. Accept that the way that they hurt you, however relatively bad it was, they couldn't have acted any differently than they did. They acted exactly as you would have if you were in the exact same situation as they were, with their same values, their same upbringing, their same genetics, everything. Empathize with that. Feel compassion for it. Even love it. Now ask yourself, what do you wish they had done in this moment? How do you hope they would have acted differently if they had been less fearful, less ignorant, less lacking in love, less lacking in consciousness? And now actually imagine that happening, them changing how they acted in that moment. Embrace how that feels for them to do this. And accept that you might never get that change from this person that hurt you. And that's okay. That's okay. Now, for the last part of this meditation, I want you to flip this around. Ask yourself if you're willing to take the other person's perspective, the person who hurt you. How might they have felt in this experience? Why might they have felt that way? And where was that feeling come from? How did you fall, not only in this moment, but across your entire life in the most valent moments? How have you fallen for the exact same tetrad of human selfishness that they did? How might you have acted in your life from fear, from ignorance, from a lack of love, or from a lack of consciousness? Realize that you couldn't have acted any differently than you did. All of the genetics, the childhood, the friendships, the context, everything led you to acting exactly as you did in that moment. And you can't change that. But what you can do is take responsibility for how you react to what happened. Forgive them. Forgive yourself as them. Love this moment, not necessarily saying that what happened should have happened to you or you deserved it or relatively it was a good thing, but loving it because it did happen and there's no changing that. And trying to judge this person is actually just judging yourself and reality. Embody this feeling of forgiveness. Feel it in your bones. Feel it in the individual atoms of your entire body. How does it change your posture? How does it change the feeling in your heart? How open you are? And finally, when you feel ready to, slowly open your eyes, awakened with this new, radiant perspective and loving embrace of reality emanating from the forgiveness of this person. Pretty wild, huh? I recommend that you do this forgiveness meditation over the next few days, weeks, potentially even months. Not necessarily every day, but when it feels like it is right. And if you didn't get that profound sense of forgiveness or openness in your heart, don't worry. Forgiveness is hard. This person might have really hurt you. And it might not be practical to expect that forgiveness to come right away. But love yourself, commend yourself for going through this meditation and trying nonetheless. It takes a lot of strength to do that. That's it. Thanks for taking this journey with me. If you resonated with this video, I highly recommend you check out my free college freshman cosmic journaling kit in the description below. It is a gamified journaling system to help you grow your emotional intelligence, your self-understanding, and your purpose in much the same way that you are with this forgiveness meditation. It's got over 1,000 journaling questions, 5 templates, and is meant to help you journal in just 15 minutes a day. As always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Eat some peanut butter, and bye-bye.